This video is going to show you how to add Custom Pack Workbook Fields to reports using the Business Vision Report Designer. The methods used in this video can be used for Sage Business Vision 2009, 2010, and 2011. The first requirement of adding workbook fields to reports is that you must have Custom Pack installed and Workbook active and the Report Designer active as well. We can check that by going under Help, About, Sage Business Vision, and going under Licenses. You can see here that we have Custom Pack enabled. We'll hit OK, and we'll check System Setup, User Details, and make sure that the user has access to Workbook and has access to Report Designer. We'll go to the User Details and go to Settings, and we'll see here that Report Designer is set to Yes. And under Custom Pack, under Workbook, we'll see here that it is active and is set to configure as well. Let's close, and we'll take a look at a sample customer workbook that has been set up in this company. We'll go to the customer module and we'll go to the Workbook button. We can see here that we have 9 fields ranging from make to style. If we go to the properties of this workbook, we can see here that we have 9 fields in total, ranging from main tables, files, masked files, and text files. Let's first identify which ones are what. Let's go to properties of the first one, and we'll see here that this is a masked text. Okay, we'll hit OK. The second field is also a masked text. Hit OK. Year, properties. This is the third masked text. Now this is going to be very significant when we add fields to the report. Okay, so just note that this is the third masked text. We'll hit OK, and we'll go to the fourth field, which is S-type. Go to properties, and this is a drop-down list. This one, drop-down lists, comes from the main table. Okay, this is our first one so far. Hit OK. S-date, properties. This is a date as well. Okay. Recommend, properties, and you're going to see here this is a text. Okay, and this text basically is coming from a text file, not the mass text, but actually a text file. This is our first one. Hit OK. Next, SD, properties. This is a date as well. This comes from the main table. Hit OK. Emissions, properties. This is a checkbox, also comes from the main table. And the style. The style, go to properties, a drop-down list. Drop-down list comes from the main table as well. So, in total here, we have 3 masked text, which are make, model, and year. We have 1 text field, and we have 5 main fields, which are S-type, S-date, next SD, emissions, and style. Okay, keeping that in mind, we'll hit OK, hit OK again. And now we're going to see what we need to do to get these fields onto a sample invoice. Let's close this for now. Let's go to the customer and let's see what workbook fields are populated here. We can see we have, for this customer, Ace Electronics, we have everything populated from make all the way down to style. So let's close this and let's go to the sales history and let's reprint a sample invoice. If we double click on this invoice, and if we simply hit the reprint button, you will see here that we have a standard invoice with 2 boxes added. One's a teal color and one is like a rosy pink color. These 2 boxes basically contain only text. It is not drawing from Workbook at all. But I'll show you basically how to get those fields that we saw in Workbook into these two boxes. Let's close this for now. Let's close, and I'll show you the configuration of the workbook folder. In the workbook folder, we can see here that we have data dictionary files, and we also have WBD cust files all the way down to the workbook.btr file. The workbook BTR file contains the structure of all the workbooks in your business vision. The WBD files, WBM files, and WBT files contain the actual data that is for the workbook. In this example, I'm showing you the customer details. So the information is stored in the WBD_cust, which is the main table, which we have 5 fields in there. We have the WBM cust, which contains the mask text, which is the 3 that I mentioned, and the WBT_cust, which contains the first text file. Okay, we'll close this down, and we'll see how we're going to add these fields to the report designer. Let's close, go to File, Printer Setup, and Report Designer, and I'm going to open up that report that we've just saw earlier. I'm going to hit the Open button, go to where the report is, As you can see, this is a standard invoice. I have a text box here with text objects. If we go lower, we're going to see the second box. Again, this is a regular text box, and these are just simply labels. So the first thing we're going to do to get those fields onto the report is to simply go to Database Fields. We see that we have tables ranging from multi-currency to ship via. To add these fields, we have to first right-click on any open area, go to Database, and go under Database Expert. We'll maximize this to make it a bit easier to see. Create a new connection, and we're going to go to Btrieve, and we're going to go to the workbook data folder. So that's under Business Vision, under CPAC, under Workbook, and we see all these files here. The one I'm going to click on is called Field DDF, and we have tables range from Customer Workbook Main all the way down to Inventory Workbook Text. Now, I've mentioned earlier that I have 3 mask fields, I have 1 text, and 5 main. Okay. Now, what we're going to do here first is, if we see here, see Business Vision CPAC Workbook Field.ddf. Now, where it's drawing from is here exactly. Let me just close this for now. This is being drawn from here, C drive, Business Vision, CPAC, and the workbook folder. We have all the files here that you saw just a bit earlier. Put this on the background, right click, Database, Database Expert again. We see all these tables here. Now I'm going to grab the main table. I can click on this, I can click on the right button, or I can simply just drag it over. Okay, we'll start with this for now. We're going to hit OK. And we're going to have to establish a link between the workbook and the customer main table. The link we're going to establish is going to be from the sales history to the customer workbook main. We'll go up a bit. We're going to establish a link from the sales history header to the customer workbook main. To do that, I'm going to scroll to the top, identify the customer number. There's a customer number here in the workbook main as well. So we're going to go from the customer number to customer number. We're going to drag from the sales history header customer number over to the customer number for the workbook main. We establish a link going from one table to another. I will right click on the link and I will say that this link option is a left outer join. We'll hit OK, and this establishes the link between the sales history header and the customer workbook main. Now, with the customer workbook main, you're going to see here that we have all the links and data from the make all the way down to style. We have 5 fields that are in the main table. We're going to hit OK for now, since we established the first link. We'll hit OK on the message. Now if we go to the database fields, customer workbook main, we have all the data here available. Now since we have 5 main fields, we can add all 5 to this invoice. We're going to start first by looking at the main fields. The first one I recall is the S type. So if we simply right click on this field and go to browse data, we're going to see that it contains the information here directly from the S type data. We'll hit close. We're going to go up to where we want to put this, so we'll scroll up to the top, and I'm going to simply drag from this area into the box here. Just reposition this. That's our first field. If you notice now, there's going to be a check mark right next to it, signifying that we have utilized this field on the report. Next one is S-date. I'll right click just to verify I got the information, browse data, and we see we have dates here. This is the one we want. Drag and simply drop this over into where we want it to be. Make this a bit bigger. And since this is the date field, Crystal Reports, or the report designer, has specific formatting for dates. The dates that you define in the report designer can be independent of the date that appears within the workbook. So if I right click on this, I can say format field, and the date, I can choose any date any format I wish to choose. I'll choose this format here, 01MAR 1999. And a sample will appear at the bottom signifying how it looks. If I'm satisfied, I'll hit OK. And this is the second field we've just put on there. The third field will be the next SD date, not the recommend. The recommend is a text. We'll go to the next SD. We'll put that at the bottom. Drag and drop. I can now even make this style different by right clicking on it, go to format field. I'll make a long format. March 1999, I'll hit OK. Next one is emissions. If I right click on this, go to browse data, it's either a true or false, which is a boolean, yes or no. Close, and I'll go to where I want to put this. Now, since this is a boolean, it's either, if you saw in the workbook, whether it was a check mark or no check mark. I can just simply drag and drop this. And in this case, if I right click on this field, I can again make this independent of how it looks in Business Vision, which is a check mark or no check mark. I right click, go to Format Field, and I go to Boolean. The Boolean text can say true or false. It can say T or F, yes or no, N or no, or 1 or 0. I will pick yes or no instead. I hit OK. This is the fourth field, and the last one we're going to put is style. So if I right click on this, go to browse data, we're going to see here I have the information populated already. That's the data that's in the customer file. I'll hit OK. I'm going to drag. Again, I'm going to drop this to where I want it to be. I'll close this. And those are the 5 fields that we have so far. As you can see here, we have check boxes here, check marks, showing that we've utilized them on the report. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to right click, report, and I'm going to save the Crystal Reports file, and I'm going to put this in the reports folder. And I'm going to change the name slightly to number 2. I'll save this. We'll close. And we're going to do a comparison between what it looked before and how it looks now. I'm going to set this up as a supplementary form number 1. I'm going to save that. Let's go to my customer ACE again, and we'll see how this prints out. I'm going to reprint. You can see here, this is our original invoice, which contains only the text and the boxes. Our next report that we see here, after adding the 5 fields, are now as such. Okay. If we look at the Business Vision data itself, we can see here that these fields are now on there. Type D, dates, emissions, and the 4-door, which is now on this report. What we're going to do now is add the remaining 4 fields on it. Let's close this for now. Close the other report. And we're going to see what we have to do to add the mask fields on there, which is the make, model, and year. Let's close this down. Let's go back to File, Printer Setup, and Report Designer. Open, and we're going to open the number 2. We're going to right click, Database, and Database Expert. Maximize this. Go to Create New Connection, Btrieve, and we already have the workbook folder coming up, so I'll double click field.ddf. And this time we already have the main table, so we're going to grab the mask field and drag it over. And if I wanted to, what I could do is I can right click on this and click on rename. I can type make, drag over again, right click, rename, model. With mask, I'll grab one more since we have 3 mask fields. Right click, rename, year. Okay. Now, the significance of this is that with mask text, there is one relationship between the main and the mask for each mask field. So, since I have 3 mask fields, I must add 3 mask tables. Okay. I'll hit OK for now, or go to links for that matter. I'll need to establish the link between the main and the mask. I'm going to go down here, I'm going to just drag this up a bit. Put them relatively side by side. Make this a bit bigger so we can see it. So the relationship we're going to be establishing is going from the main to the make table. To do that, we're going to have to drag from the main customer number over to the make customer number. Right click on the link, establish this link as a left outer join. We'll hit OK. The secondary link you must always do is from the bvres _00 or to the bvres to the mask table. And the third link, since we want to get the make field on the report, which is stored in the make database, is to go from the workbook main link _ make field, drag that over to the field name of the mask table. The secondary link we're going to make is for model. This is our second mask field. Move these out of the way. I'll establish the link basically the same way. I'm going to go from the main, drag the customer number over to the customer number for the model, release the mouse, right click on the link, link options, and choose left outer join again. Hit OK. Establish the second link, bvres00 to the bvres00. And I'm going to get the model, link _ model, over to the field name. This is our second mask. The third one we're going to do is the year. It's at the bottom. I'm going to take this one over. The way we establish this is the same ways as we did make and model. I'm going to grab from the workbook main customer number over to the year customer number. Right click, link options, and left outer join. Hit OK. bvres _00 to the year table. And lastly, we're going to take the link year over to the field name. Okay, now we're ready to get these 3 mask fields on the report. Let's hit OK. Hit OK. And under the database fields, we have now make, model, and year. So if I hit the plus sign here, we're going to get this mask field on the report. So the make, I'll just drag this over, add it right here. We can now see there's a check mark here in green signifying that we've utilized the field. Go to model and drag from the mask over to the model here where we want the open space. And we'll go lastly is the year mask field over into the area where I want it to be. Make this a bit shorter. as type. We've noticed that this one was just misaligned here on the left, so we're going to just center this by clicking on this button, Align Center. So now that we have it here, we can see here that the mask fields have now been utilized on the report. I'll hit Save. I'll say yes. Close. And we'll reprint again and see what we have left. We see here we have the original file. Again, the secondary one will have the information that we've added so far. These are the three mask fields we have: make, model, and year. Now the last one we have to add is the text box. Let's close this and we'll see how we're going to do that one lastly. Close, File, Report Designer, open the report, since we already have a main and three masks, we are going to add the text table as well. To do that, right click, Database, Database Expert, New Connection, Btrieve, Field DDF, and we're going to take the cust_workbook text, which is the recommend field. I'm going to take that and drag this over, and we're going to right click, rename if you want to, or else you can just leave it the same. I'll just rename this. Recommend. Links. And if we go down, we're going to establish the final link to this recommend table. I'm going to move this over. Make this bigger. Establish the link again like we did the make, model, and year. Take from the main customer number and drag this over to the customer number for the recommend text box. Right click the link, link options, and we'll choose left outer join again. BVRES00 to BVRES_00. And we're going to take the recommend link from the main table to the text table. Since this is established, we'll hit OK. Hit OK. Scroll down. We want to put the recommend field at the bottom. So if we click on the database fields, go to recommend, we will now see a memo field there. I'm going to drag that over into where we want it to be. I can space this out a bit since this is a large text. And we'll save this. Close, and let's reprint it one more time. You can now see, if we reprint it, we now have all the fields from the customer workbook appearing on the invoice. If we want to verify the information, we can simply go back to Business Vision and look at the customer workbook, ranging from Honda all the way to the 4-door style. You can see here that the information is basically the same. If we were to reprint it from another customer, we can see that the information that's being drawn is for that customer. So if we go to a different customer, let's switch customers. We have Acme, all the way from Mazda, all the way on a 4-door again. Close, and let's pull up one of their invoices and simply reprint it. Information here has been drawn is pertaining to this customer. This is a small demonstration of how Custom Pack Workbook can be put onto invoices, forms, different reports, and whatnot. BizVision Workbook can be utilized in practically any module, from customers, inventory, vendors, employees, order entry, purchase orders, so on and so forth. And those fields can be put on the reports that you require. Thanks for choosing Sage.